Welcome to JustWannaQuilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School, where we explore all kinds of things, stories about quilting, tools, field trips, maybe some famous quilters stop by, and, of course, a little bit of copyright thrown in just for fun. I'm Elizabeth Townsend-Gard, your host. I'm a law professor at Tulane University Law School, and I have two fellowships right now. One at the Business School, a LePage Faculty Fellow for Entrepreneurship, and another one at the Newcomb Institute to look at narrativity, gender, and fiber. And, of course, I just want to quilt. So today we talk with Allie Smith of trademark.com. They are a leading place that you can go and get trademark work done, including monitoring your trademark. They are a company of a larger company that does trademark work for professional people. Now we'll hear in this conversation a couple of things that where I found a little bit disturbing. First, the work that you get there is not a full search, and that was I thought was a bit terrible. Second, I'm not sure how much what you're getting from them you can't do on your own at the USPTO for free. So we're doing a lot of research on trademark. We have a new book, Just Wanna Trademark, and we're really trying to give you the real scoop of what it means to get trademark work done and how to do it in the best way you can and also cost efficiently.
Sure. So my name is Allie Smith, and I'm based in Boston, and I work for trademark.com.
Awesome. And do you have any memory of anyone sewing or quilting in your life?
Oh, that's a good question. My mom is not a quilter, but she's a sewer. And all through my life, she has made me so many things. So, when I was a kid, it was always Halloween costumes. And as I was older and got my first apartment, it was, slip covers and curtains. And so I have very fond memories of her doing that for me. And I don't have much sewing ability myself, but I'm envious of it.
I love it. It's so funny because we always are talking about sort of does it bring meaning? And it seems like your mom sewing for you did bring meaning and that it mattered. Yes. That it wasn't just, you didn't go just to the shop and buy it kind of thing.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Interesting.
All right. So we are talking about trademarks. We're talking about trademarks a lot right now. And what we're trying to understand is there's a lot of stuff out there and it's very confusing. Mm-hmm. So, tell me a little bit about what trademark.com is. Like, how do we understand what you all do?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So basically, in a nutshell, trademark.com is this sort of, user-friendly, all-in-one sort of trademark protection tool that is supposed to make safeguarding brands easy and affordable for small business owners. And basically, this is coming out of a realization of something that we kind of saw happening in the market. So, we understand that like a brand is really a business's identity, right? It represents its products and services, but it's also its market reputation. And, it's a promise to your customers about consistency and reliability. And those are really important for, like trust and loyalty and all those really good things that businesses are built on. But, like just creating a word or using a word or a logo or a slogan to distinguish your business isn't enough to keep someone else from doing the same thing. And so, in the U.S., I'm sure you guys have covered this idea of these unregistered marks or common law marks, like not providing a lot of protection against infringement or, we call them copycats just for simplicity's sake. So, beyond your local area, your common law mark isn't going to do you all that much good. And so, that's why, registering your mark with the USPTO, the Patent and Trademark Office in the U.S., is so important because it's giving you protection in the form of legal ownership nationwide.
Totally. So let me stop you there, just in case people don't understand. So you can get a trademark automatically by just using it, but it's not very strong. It's like, well, you use it in New Orleans, so it's a common law trademark. Then you can get it at the state level. State level is you register your mark with your state, and you get the protection in your state. And what you're saying, and what I agree with, is that the best, strongest protection is registering it federally. That allows you to, that you're the only one that's using that particular mark as a source identifier in that particular context, international classes, and it really protects you. And in our day and age with the internet and hashtags, everything is national. So this idea of local or state, it's kind of gone in some way. Do you agree?
It's a little bit quaint. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. The other thing we've found too is that, once a business owns their right to their trademark, the piece that often gets overlooked then is enforcement.
Yeah.
So, the PTO, the Patent and Trademark Office, obviously, tries to make sure that no one else is going to receive registration for a mark that's similar or, to yours that has sort of in the same area of business. But they're certainly not out there policing marks, right?
No.
And that can be a common misconception that we've found among trademark owners, that they don't understand that they need to kind of, once they have secured those rights, then they're really responsible for keeping a constant eye, on mark activity that's going on, whether it's in the marketplace or online or even at the PTO itself. So, they're humans. They, are prone to error just like the rest of us. And, trademark.com, in addition to helping people, determine the availability of a mark that they might want to secure and then registering their mark, we also offer something called trademark monitoring, which can help them sort of understand this potentially competitive activity going on and keep an eye on that, and then, have the opportunity to act on it if it presents a problem for their business.
So interesting, because part of the responsibility as a trademark owner is to police your mark, and that is a very hard thing to do. And so signing up with something like your service allows you to sort of demonstrate that you're doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So
yeah, and it's not that expensive. I mean, everything adds up. So small businesses freak out because you're like, oh my God, I have another thing we have to do.
Yeah.
But it isn't, you have on your website that's $199. So that's not terrible. Right. And you're protecting the mark for the monitoring side of it.
Exactly.
Do you see others?
That covers you for the whole year.
I haven't seen others out there really having that as one of their things they do. Is that true? Like there's a few of you, but not that many. I mean, people don't really... There's a lot more people trying to get you to do your trademarks with them. It's like 1,000 people, right? But But yeah.
Yeah, well, you hit on something that's really important that we're trying to help small businesses understand, which is this idea that trademarks, unfortunately, like aren't set it and forget it, right? Once you secure your mark and you've registered it with the trademark office, that's fantastic. We look at that as sort of step one. That next piece is enforcing your mark, as you mentioned, and it's so critical. And a lot of people kind of understand that, they need to watch the marketplace for, copycats and similar products. And that's definitely valid. We, fully support that. But the other piece is really also to make sure that the PTO hasn't sort of inadvertently, shall we say, registered a mark that you think sort of jeopardizes your own business. So, kind of that idea of having some awareness of new marks that are being added to the register that could impact your business is something that often flies under the radar. But it's really, we make it really easy at trademark.com. So once you secure your mark and you sign up for trademark monitoring, we send you a weekly report via email. It's really easy to read, and it just lets you know, what we found that was registered in the past week with the PTO that you might want to take a look at to see if you feel like it's too similar to your mark.
Got it.
And then we make that, it's really easy then for someone to decide to follow up on that on their own or send it to, a trademark attorney to, file an opposition or send a cease and desist, or just kind of decide on what the most appropriate next action is.
Yeah.
But, we give you so much advance notice that this mark is, has been filed.
Yeah.
That, you're really in the driver's seat, being able to make decisions about what you want to do about it.
So interesting. Okay, let's switch to the trademark registration. I'm curious, you're powered by, you're a tell me your relationship with CompuMark. Am I right?
Sure. Yeah. So trademark.com's parent company is CompuMark, which is, one of the largest
you guys are the thing.
Trademark.
Right. So just so people, you can't say this as much as I can say it. So CompuMark is, are you still that? So we actually had a little contract with you a while back with something else I did. But CompuMark is that's where you go get your trademark report. If you're a big company, you guys are that. Are you still that? Did you guys sell that off? I'm confused as to where you are.
Yep. Yeah, no. So basically the way trademark.com came about is, CompuMark has this very rich history in the market of providing, like you said, trademark research and trademark research tools to to large businesses. And so basically we figured out that, a lot of small businesses can't necessarily afford traditional trademark legal services.
Because
and
those are
what if we could...
Yeah, I'm going to interrupt you for just a sec. So so if you go to CompuMark, you can still order a report there. They're a bit more expensive. Sure. The price points are very different, I think, right? Yeah.
So CompuMark is designed for IT professionals. So whether that's a paralegal or a trademark attorney, someone who is basically an expert in the trademark world. That's who CompuMark is serving. Like you said, if you are, very familiar with trademarks, you can certainly go in and order a search or, a search with opinion, something like that. We certainly have those products. But trademark.com really came about with this idea that we could kind of take these really world-class trademark tools that we have and customize them and automate them a little bit so that they could be accessible to small business owners.
So interesting. It's really brilliant.
That's the relationship.
It's great.
Cool.
So when you do a search, so let's say you, because I haven't seen inside of your system. So if you do a trademark search here, it costs almost $500 to do the search. That includes the fees? It's kind of remarkable.
So trademark.com currently has a free trademark search. I think the piece that you are referencing is the registration,
right,
which we do through a partner firm, Marcaria. So trademark.com does not do any of the legal work of registering marks. We help you. We have some AI that basically helps you start your application. So when you go into the site and you have this mark that you want to register, you'll be able to tell us what that word mark is. It's currently a service only for word marks. And then we help you build out your goods and services description in a really comprehensive way. So we built this cool piece of technology where you can enter some keywords about your business.
Yeah.
And we will present you with pre-populated descriptions that have already been approved by the USPTO.
Got it.
So and it's attached to the associated class. So you can build out a very comprehensive goods and service listing without really needing to know anything about classes or how certain things should be phrased and that kind of thing.
Got it. All right, so let me see if I get this right. So so you're getting ready to do the application with you guys, but you're not submitting the application. So what's that relate? I'm confused. So
yeah. So we help you prep those pieces of your application, and then we send that information that you have given us to our partner, Marcaria, who has a network of attorneys. And once you transact with them, I think a word mark in one class is about $474, including PTO fees. They have an attorney that will review your application, make sure that your goods and services make sense, and that, They'll help you submit your specimen of use and all those necessary pieces, deal with office actions, that kind of thing. So we kind of like help you. We call it building a trademark profile. It's kind of like starting to put all of the aspects of your mark into the sort of format that the PTO will then be able to digest given their application.
Yeah.
But Marcaria is actually kind of doing like the hands-on legal work.
And they're just reviewing they're just reviewing the application. If you have office actions or something like that, that's not included in the price. That would be extra.
It is not, correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then do they tell you the fees of what that would be?
Yep. Yeah, they have a whole fee schedule that they share up front. They're very transparent, which is
That's
part
great.
of why
And
we like working with them.
What's nice about them, I'm looking at their website, is that they're international. So if you're going to do more, so you've got a place. That's good to know. Marcaria. So Marcaria, Marcaria.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm at your site. You're helping me. What kind of search tools are you using? Are you just using tests, or are you using the stuff that's in CompuMark? Like how rigorous is the search being done, and who's doing it? I'm doing it, or you're doing it?
Yeah, so the search that we currently have available on trademark.com is user operated, and it's free, and it covers USPTO data. And the thing that's really nice about this free search, so it's a really good place to start. We're certainly not suggesting that it's entirely comprehensive and you shouldn't do any further digging. That's certainly not the case. You can basically never do too much digging when it comes to trademarks, because anything that you can, any conflicts you can surface on the front end before submitting your application, obviously that's always preferable. But basically what we've given everyone is sort of a really robust place to start their search. And it covers USPTO data. It's taking into account your goods and services description that you've built through the tool when you say, this is, my mark is for a bakery, and it's covering, cookies and also the sale of cookies and those kinds of things. And it gives you the results back in a way that I think is very accessible to small business owners. So the results are ranked high, medium, and low similarity.
Yeah.
And we explain kind of what our criteria is for putting things into those buckets. And so we're not able to give any legal advice, but we are, we kind of use that as a tool to help users get a sense of where they stand with that mark. If you use the search and you've got, I don't know, like 5 or 6 highly similar marks, then maybe a self-service tool isn't for you, I would probably say. You might want to, that's probably time to call in the experts to say, geez, there might be a lot of roadblocks to this. What makes most sense as a next step for me? If you, on the other hand, do a search for, a desired mark, and it comes back, with maybe just a couple of low similarity, which usually means that the marks are somewhat similar to yours, but in relation to other goods and services or in another area of business, that's not so much of a concern. So you probably want to do some more digging, but, it's sort of a preliminary thumbs up, like, this is a viable possibility. So in that sense, we're certainly not suggesting that, it's sort of a complete picture. With trademarks, you can sort of do as much or as little due diligence as you feel comfortable with, right?
Yeah,
it's about sort of your risk tolerance. So another thing that a lot of people we've found that people don't necessarily understand is that once you submit your application to the trademark office, if they reject it, you're not getting your money back.
Yeah.
That ship has sailed. That's sort of a one and done. And so it does make sense, I think, to do as much work and investment as you can on the front end to sort of learn about the availability of your mark. And the search on trademark.com is really meant to be sort of like a jumping off point, I would say.
Right. Interesting. Okay. So how do I get to the free search? I just made an account. How do I get to the free search on your website?
So We are actually, this is a good opportunity to mention that we are sort of releasing a 2.0 version coming in January that will be a little bit more intuitive than what you're seeing now.
Okay.
So at the moment we are offering, because we so believe in this idea of, trademark monitoring and trademark registration really being essential to responsible trademark ownership. We're offering those together on the site today. So you would go under trademark monitoring and registration and start there. And once you plug in your mark and build your goods and services, then there'll be an opportunity. There's kind of like a panel that pops up and it will show you it's sort of an overview of availability. So there is some information about domain availability, which does not affect necessarily the registrability of your mark, but it can be sort of another data piece you might want to consider before you, hit go, essentially. It also shows you information about social handles. And then below that, we let you know whether or not we found any similar marks and PTO data. And if you click into that, you'll be able to see the results that came back against the mark you entered and the goods and services.
Got it. Okay.
So in January, it'll be a little bit more straightforward. We're adding, we're sort of separating out registration and trademark monitoring because we realize that often, people want to be certain that their mark is registered before they start monitoring it, which makes perfect sense. So those will be independent services. And then we're also adding a naming function. So this is really exciting. We basically built a naming tool, a name generator, if you will, that uses goods and service terms to come up with creative names that are sort of appropriate for your product or area of business. And then also at a very high level are theoretically available for registration, which essentially means, we're doing a quick check against the PTO to make sure that there aren't any identicals.
Got it.
Any identical matches.
Yeah.
And so it's really meant to kind of accelerate the search for a new name. What we found is it can be really disheartening, right, to sort of have your heart set on a name or a brand or, gosh forbid, maybe you've already been using this name or brand. And when you figure out that you're sort of between a rock and a hard place because it's taken or something really similar is already registered or for whatever reason you're not going to be able to secure that registration, it's, that's a real blow to a small business owner emotionally, if not, with other business ramifications. And so this tool, whether you're starting fresh or you're sort of new to wanting to create a name, this tool is meant to kind of fast track the process a little bit and build in some of that trademark information so that the creation process and the trademark process are not so disconnected.
That's really great. All right, so I have a question for you. So I've had this situation like 3 times now, and so if you go to a law firm, they are going to potentially order a report from CompuMark, and it's going to be fully comprehensive, right? It's going to do all kinds of stuff. It's going to do state and common law, and if you need an international one, it's going to be hugely big. And then I see sort of resources like yours and a bunch of them and even our pro bono only relies on tests. And I'm wondering why there's that disconnect. I'm concerned with small businesses. Is it okay to be just running tests? Or do you feel like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you not getting? And when should we be concerned about suggesting to people these sort of services that only really use the USPTO? Because that's what you guys do with this service, right? You're basically using tests.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, yes. It does include pending, so that's a slightly more comprehensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's a good question. I think, it's a hard one to answer because it's sort of based on your level of risk tolerance, right? So I think if you have,
but they don't know that. That's my problem with this, right?
Yeah.
Is that, we've interviewed other people, and even like, look, we have a pro bono program at Tulane that we're certified by the USPTO. And the law firm that works for us does a different kind of search for our pro bono clients. And I feel like that's not really fair in some way, right? Or maybe they don't need it. I don't know. I mean, do you feel like a small business isn't taking as big a risk in terms of they don't need a global search? They don't need a common law search? Like, can you help me understand sort of, because I don't think it's level of risk, because I don't think they know they're risking anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that you're not saying beware. There still may be state trademarks that conflict with your mark, right? So I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question to people,
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. I think, part of it has to do with how much resource you're willing to invest in it as well. Yeah. So, part of what's really hard, and this is where the invaluable attorney expertise comes in. And I think what we try to be really clear about with trademark.com is that this is in no way, replacement for legal advice or for an IP attorney or for those traditional services. It's kind of like, if you have a fairly straightforward mark to register and you have some trademark awareness and you're fairly confident and be able to, like, for example, interpret the search results, then this is a great fit for you. If you sort of don't want to learn anything about the process and just really aren't comfortable in this area, or you've built a really sizable business and you have, very considerable investments made behind your brand, then I think your trademark investment probably should match that. You're probably not looking for a DIY service. You probably need to, go to that attorney who's going to run a CompuMark search, who's going to check, all the jurisdictions and give you, an opinion back with that. Yeah. So I think that's kind of how it matches up sort of in my mind.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you include state? Are states included in the trademarker.com? Are state databases?
I have to double check on that. I feel like I have seen state results come through before, but not always.
Yeah, right.
So I would need to double check.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
But I think for anyone, whether you do your trademark work with you or not, the monitoring service is super important. So it's good to know about that. And it's not to say anything negative about your trademark searches. It's just, people, I think they're together and they're separate, right? So
right, exactly. I think this is a great tool for someone who, like I said, is comfortable doing a little bit of the legwork, kind of looking at those search results and saying, I'm comfortable with this, or, and our recommendation is always if you have any level of doubt or concern, seek expert help, you won't ever regret it.
Cool. Well, this has been such a delight. I really do appreciate your time. And it was interesting to see, I as I said, I'm familiar with CompuMark and their reports, and so it was interesting to see that there was a more affordable way to get a report that's similar, but not as comprehensive as the CompuMark report. I think it's great.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me on. This was a really fun conversation.
Of course. All right, so this is trademark.com. Again, they do both monitoring and trademark applications. Your application gets reviewed by an attorney, but it doesn't provide you anything beyond that. You'd have to but it does include the government fees within the cost. So it's a very cost-effective way to do it, right? A lot of these don't have the fees included. So anyway, it's all very good. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
Cool. Anything else they should know before we hang up?
No, I think that covers it. Check back in January for that exciting edition of, the name generation. And that's it. Don't forget to protect your mark. It's important.
I totally agree. All right, cool. All right, hold on just a sec. So I thought what was interesting about our conversation with Allie is there are a lot of services out there for trying to register your trademark. LegalZoom, trademark.com, Trademarkia. And I think if you're going to use one of these, you need to really assess what they're doing. So here they're doing a trademark search using the USPTO database. You're doing it. And then they're having a lawyer review just what you've done, the search. I don't think that's enough, personally. We're really trying to educate you on understanding what the mark is, how to choose a mark, do all kinds of things like that. So I think that there's more to it than just searching to see if there's a name available. And so I would be really cautious in using these services just on their own. Now, if you are really well aware of trademark, or you've done your research, or you've read our book, I think then you could use these services. I think that's great. But I think on their own, they're just not providing enough for you to have confidence in what the mark, what you need to do for a mark. So that's just my 2 cents as, someone who cares about you. Think about doing some more homework, doing some research. Buy our book if you don't know anything about trademark. We really do go through everything. There are lots of services out there that will do these searches. I personally think you can do the search without having to pay for access to these. It's free at the USPTO if you know what you're doing. We're trying to get you to know what you're doing. But if you want to use one of these services, trademark.com is reputable. It's, again, just the U.S. records, I think, but it is an all-in-one package. Also, monitoring is great. You can monitor on your own through the USPTO website, or you can have a service like this. Again, start to get educated on what trademark is and how you protect your mark. We're here to help you understand these things. So you've been listening to JustWannaQuilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School. And I'm Elizabeth Townsend Gard. If you like this podcast, keep listening. Also, we have a Facebook group. Come join us. We talk about a lot of things. We also have an Instagram account. And of course, most importantly, I really hope you get a chance to quilt today.